The Rev. Al Sharpton's annual convention began Wednesday inside the Sheraton, New York, on 7th Avenue by 53rd Street. But to hear the longtime civil rights activist and television host describe it, he is gathering supporters behind enemy lines. "You're a few blocks south of Trump Tower, and we're a few blocks north of Fox News," Sharpton said. Two laughs in the audience. "So, we're right in the middle of an era we're going to deal with for the next 3.5 days." As President Donald Trump concludes his first 100 days in office this weekend, Sharpton is billing his annual convention as the first national gathering of progressives and activists of the Trump era, and a chance for liberals to gird themselves for the next 1,360 days of Trump's presidency. New York City public advocate Tish James helped set the anti-Trump mood, telling the crowd assembled in the ballroom Wednesday, "Welcome to the annual convention of the resistance." New York State Attorney General Eric Schneiderman welcomed the conference with jabs at his federal counterpart, National Action Network. "You have built a framework that is needed now more than ever, as all these Americans rise up and see the injustice, and see it embodied in people like our so-called federal attorney general," Schneiderman said, borrowing Trump's much criticized rhetorical attack on federal judges. Schneiderman later took a dig at Attorney General Jeff Sessions' recent comments about a judge in Hawaii, saying, "I don't really think of an attorney general as someone who says the great state of Hawaii is just some island sitting out there in the Pacific." Eric Holder, the former attorney general under President Barack Obama, laid out the argument before the crowd that Trump and Republicans have been suppressing the vote of Democrats, and in particular, people of color, and that those efforts need to be fought. "That most basic right of voting," Holder said, "is under siege." While saying voters need to show some proof of identification, every person attempting to vote should have to show he or she is who they claim to be. "That's basic. Too many today forget this has always been the case." Holder said Republican-controlled legislatures are using requirement to unfairly block voters. Now, instead of ensuring the integrity of the voting process, they actually do the opposite by keeping certain groups of people away from the polls, Holder said. "Now, to employ language of our president, that is how elections are officially rigged by the state governments controlled by his party." Then, as if the point was not clear, Holder told the audience who was to blame and why. Vote fraud did not become an issue in Texas and North Carolina and in other places until people of color started to cast ballots in record numbers connected to the candidacy and the presidency of Barack Obama. Democratic National Committee Chairman Tom Perez, a native of Buffalo, gave a stump speech to the conference about what he considered to be the horrors of Trump's presidency. "I believe our presence here today is more important than our presence a year ago, because we have existential threats to our democracy as we know it," he said. In a video message, U.S. Sen. Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts said economic and social problems needed to be fought in tandem. "This is not an either-or choice," she said, speaking from two large screens projected over the ballroom. "We can't choose to fight only one of these battles, or the other, to fight bigotry, or to fight for economic opportunity. They go hand in hand." Tom Joyner, the longtime radio host, was in the audience for much of the morning's event. Afterwards, in the lobby, He told Politico New York that Democrats and progressives needed a unified front in opposing Trump. We need to protest. We need agitate. We need to do all those things that we used to do, and we need to step that up. Now more than ever before, he said. Asked whether Democrats should work with Trump in order to get, for example, funding to improve mass transit, with transit issues on extreme display at Penn Station in recent weeks, Joyner said no. The opposition to Trump, he said, should be across the board. In her speech to the crowd, James referred to Trump's first 100 days of chaos and confusion, 100 days of fear and hate, 100 days of sexism and racism, 100 days of order after order of dismantling voting rights, women's rights, immigrants' rights, environmental justice, public education and health, and the list goes on and on. This, my friends, has been has been an extreme exercise in endurance. Calling Trump's presidency illegitimate, James called on the crowd to organize and create a wall of humanity against this administration and continue the next 100 days of resistance.